PC gaming and console gaming have always been two different beasts. Console gaming is all about killing time, simply playing the games and having fun, ignoring the real world around you, and just immersing yourself in the game world. PC gaming is much more than that. It's more of a growing experience. It's about being a part of something and sharing the experience with others, both in-game and outside of the game. To wrap this series up, ask yourselves a few questions. Where can we go from here? What can we contribute to the community? And how will this influence the next generation of gamers and gaming as a whole?
While the 90s were the best years for them, id Software had lost its crown as the king of first-person shooters by the turn of the century. For many gamers, Unreal Tournament's rich features and Counter-Strike's team-based gameplay were far more enjoyable to the refined but same-old shooter that is Quake III Arena. id Software had been outdone, and it's not surprising. There are bigger players in the industry with a larger budget and talent pool filled with passionate people to work on these games. id Software may arguably have the best engines in the world, but to remain relevant as a game developer, they needed help to make more games. Return to Castle Wolfenstein was handed off to Grey Matter Interactive and Nerve Software. They worked on the single-player and multiplayer modes respectively. id Software oversaw its development. The game itself was a reimagination of the original Wolfenstein 3D game running the Quake III Arena engine. So instead of the flat levels of the original game, we now have a more realistic World War II setting. An expansion pack to the game was planned, but due to problems with the single-player aspect, the multiplayer portion was released as a free standalone game called Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. Doom 3 was released in 2004 as a retelling of the original Doom. This was made in-house using Carmack's new engine dubbed id Tech 4. Had the technology existed 10 years prior, this is essentially what the game would have looked like, but the game itself is much slower paced. Doom 3 was less of a run-and-gun action game and leaned towards sci-fi horror. Lighting is very much an integral part of the gameplay, where monsters are hiding in dark corners and surprise the player when they get close enough. Quake 4 was the sequel to Quake 2, passed on to Raven Software for development. This game includes cutscenes and a story focusing on a single squad and a human invasion force on Stragos. It has some dark areas like in Doom 3, but the main elements are action and story. On the multiplayer side, this tries to replace Quake III Arena for competition, but as many players can attest, Quake 4 was a failure in this regard. The gameplay and physics felt less precise and more random, on top of Quake III Arena having exactly what the community wanted in terms of maps and mods. Tournaments abandoned Quake 4 and reverted back to Quake III Arena. Enemy Territory Quake Wars was the answer to the Battlefield games by DICE. This was created by Splash Damage as a multiplayer prequel to Quake 2, with the conflict between humans and the Strogg taking place on Earth. There's less emphasis on rocket and strafe jumping, and more focus on classes, vehicles, and squad-based combat. The maps themselves are huge, but each objective in these maps keeps the action confined to a small area for a more intense firefight. Wolfenstein is a sequel to Return to Castle Wolfenstein, this time made by Raven Software for single-player and Endrent Studios for multiplayer. The gameplay was changed to be more in line with modern first-person shooters such as Call of Duty. You occasionally have a squad to assist you, and you have tips popping up everywhere. But the overall theme remains the same, World War II with supernatural and sci-fi elements. Another internal release from id Software was Quake 0. But thanks to domain squatting, instead of buying the domain at an inflated price, the name was changed to Quake Live. At its core is a version of Quake III Arena Gold with a cleaner HUD. This was also modified to run from your web browser. Like with Quake III Arena, Quake Live was featured in many tournaments worldwide. This is a free-to-play game with subscription options to unlock more features and content. Finally, with the introduction to id Tech 5, we also saw id Software's newest IP, rage. Demons and aliens were shoved in a closet, with mutants and bandits taking center stage. The game has a strong focus on vehicle combat with an open world to explore. While the game was praised for its visual quality, fans and reviewers have criticized its lackluster story and campaign length. Driver issues for the PC version at launch aggravated the problem. Game developers like id Software make all the cool games we play, but if we want to take anything further, the community has to do the rest. Maps and mods, websites and forums, online skirmishes both big and small, and even huge events like DreamHack in Sweden and Quakecon in Texas. Quakecon itself started out as an entirely isolated beast altogether. Its origins can be traced back to the IRC channel Quake on EFNet. The original plan was to simply meet Quake players in real life, and this all came together in August of 1996, a couple of months after Quake was released. Attendees brought their beige computers and CRT monitors for a weekend of Doom and Quake deathmatches. Approximately 100 people attended the event. Towards the end of QuakeCon came a big surprise. The entire id Software team showed up to the event. John Carmack participated in a group discussion on the front porch of the hotel. Ideas and suggestions brought up in this discussion eventually made its way into future releases of Quake, and this discussion evolved into a yearly keynote speech. Year after year, QuakeCon has slowly grown from a simple gathering of Quake players to the largest free LAN party in North America, with over a dozen sponsors and thousands of people attending the event.
You've got to love this. You've got to love to see a byproduct of something that probably wasn't the original intention. You know, I mean, it's to have fun, but here are guys like learning to have fun on a whole another level, like a level that just makes us all go, wow.
This also serves as one of the largest Quake tournaments in the world. Over $700,000 was given away in prize money since the beginning. The main tournament is the standard 1v1 Quake duel, but there were plenty of others such as the female-only tournaments and the team battles for enemy territory. Along with the tournaments and the all-around experience, QuakeCon is also used as a platform for announcements and demos of upcoming id Software and Bethesda products. Since their fateful meeting at Softdisk, the key players in this story pursued their dreams, and we ultimately reap the rewards for their efforts. But as time progressed, their visions of gaming began to conflict with each other, and they eventually went their separate ways. Adrian Carmack left id Software in 2005 to pursue a passion in art, or so he would claim. He eventually revealed that he was fired for refusing to sell his shares back to the company and was pursuing legal action against them. At the time, Activision was looking to acquire id Software for $15 million, but the offer was rejected because the price was too low. Adrian was offered $11 million for his shares, a fraction of the cost compared to a potential $43 million from the deal with Activision. He claimed he turned down a second offer of $20 million, which triggered the termination, and that the reason the Activision deal was rejected was so that the other founders could acquire his shares at a lower price. Since id Software was never sold to Activision, the lawsuit was eventually dropped. Adrian Carmack's current endeavors are unknown. Tom Hall left id Software during the development of Doom. His idea of a video game involved fun, cartoon-style violence, which goes in contrast with the design direction of Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. Fortunately, he met up with John Romero after his departure to create a new company in Dallas called Ion Storm. Their product line was a disaster due to missed deadlines and poor quality games. The most controversial of them was Daikatana, mainly because of the ad campaign where Romero claimed he would make you his bitch. Their only successful game was Deus Ex, and this was made in Ion Storm's Austin office run by Warren Spector and some former staff members of Looking Glass Studios. John Romero and Tom Hall also founded the short-lived Monkey Stone games to develop for mobile devices. Finally, they both joined Midway Games for a time before they parted ways. John Romero served as the chairman of the board for the Cyber Athlete Professional League, announcing the development of a multi-platform esports game called Severity. This was ultimately cancelled. He also co-founded another company to work on a massive multiplayer online game. details of which are lacking to this very day. He eventually left that company to create another one for social games called Loot Drop. Tom Hall would work as an independent game consultant and join a couple smaller studios before working again with John Romero at Loot Drop. He has stated that if he ever reclaims the rights to the Commander Keen IP, there will be another game in the series. And what about the man himself? What is John Carmack doing these days? Well, he still runs id Software, employing others to do the business side of things while he works on his engines, but he's venturing off into other projects. As stated previously, Carmack is an open source advocate. Along with releasing the source code to his games, he also worked on several other open source projects, such as the X Windows System port to the Mac OS X server. He also posted every now and then on the tech news site Slashdot. Some fans were able to interact with him in the comment section of the articles there. He has also contributed generously to charities, non-profit organizations, and supporters of open source software. The list includes the Free Software Foundation and the developers of the Mesa 3D graphics library. He also provided the prize to the infamous Red Annihilation tournament held during E3 1997. In the grand finals of the tournament, Thresh dominated his opponent 14 to -1. His reward? A 1987 Ferrari 328 GTS. John Carmack's first Ferrari, customized by the man himself. It was easy enough to part with, since he had several more at his disposal, but after reviewing his Ferrari spending, he realized he could do something for the greater good. In the year 2000, he founded a rocketry company known as Armadillo Aerospace. Some of the money he made through id Software was put towards research and development of rocket-propelled vehicles. Carmack realized that reaching space was something he wanted to do himself. After the Apollo space program ended in the 70s, progress on space travel slowed to a crawl, and everything NASA did since then came with huge price tags. That's where the private aerospace companies come into play. Companies like Armadillo Aerospace are working towards reaching space at a fraction of the cost. For Armadillo Aerospace specifically, they approach rocket design similar to software design: incremental, modular, scalable, and tested often. To facilitate developments in the aerospace industry, many competitions like the X Prizes and the Rocket Racing League were created in the hopes that these would encourage innovation in the field. The company has several first-place finishes and has performed over 200 test flights spread across 24 vehicles. Backed by a sponsorship deal from Nvidia, alongside John Carmack's personal bank account, Armadillo Aerospace will be financially secure for years to come. Finally, in 2010, the Game Developers Choice Awards bestowed Carmack with the Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to the art and science of video games. He joined the ranks of former recipients of the award, which include Sid Meier, Shigeru Miyamoto, and Will Wright. And of course, we cannot forget the company where this story began. What has become of soft disk publishing? Since 1995, they've migrated from software development to become a web hosting company and an internet service provider for the Shreveport area. In 2006, the company was purchased by Bayou Internet, who covers the entire state of Louisiana. People believe video games will never get you anywhere in life, and to this day, many people still believe that. But as long as you have a passion for what you do and a dedication to pursue it, you can be successful in life with video games, just like the founders of id Software. They ignored the antisocial stigma that was tied to video games and just did what they wanted. Not only did they make these awesome games, but the features in these games, as well as their passion for gaming, served as a catalyst to empower the rest of us. PC gamers have had a rich history of sharing with the community and making things happen. Through games like Doom and Quake, the community involvement snowballed out of control. We've been modding games, organizing events, setting up websites and forums, and spreading ideas all around the world. We even created new businesses and careers revolving around these games. It's a great time to be a gamer, and a greater time to become more involved. So, what does the future hold for the video game industry? You decide. Thank you for watching.